You want Philly, Philly?
Yeah, let's do it.
It's easy to sum it up. We talking about practice.
Because it's about as casual as it gets.
What's the problem now?
That's a clown question, bro. Clown question.
I think we ought to change the beating.
Start playing with some jamming here. Let's go.
Philadelphia. Looking as old as you can look.
Here we go.
Well, hello, gentlemen, and everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Philly podcast. And finally, we are back on the air. As always, I'm joined by Chris Lahiff and Pat Houseman. Boys, how are you? It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute, gentlemen. How's everyone doing?
I'm good.
Can't complain. I think I've dropped 25 pounds since the last time we've been on, so I'm getting pretty good.
Hey, whatever works.
Yep.
That's all that matters. Just as long as you drop the pounds.
Yep.
So obviously the big news is that Ben Simmons reported to training. Oh wait, no, sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wait, hold on, wait, don't count the chickens.
Now, obviously, do a little recap of this weekend's games. I don't know. I mean, I was a little optimistic. Jalen Hurts didn't. I don't blame him. Like if that counts for something. Although he did miss Greg Ward on that pass wide open in the end zone, but it's they're not a. Nick Sirianni preached all off season about the fundamentals. When we committed 9 more penalties, like winning teams don't do that. Like good coach teams don't do that. And if Derek Barnett commits another friggin' penalty and he isn't cut, I don't know what else to tell you. Like we saw him. Was it Sirianni last week? Not this week. Last week, when he mouthed. No. So, I don't know what it is. So I'm going to turn it over to Eric real quick.
Well, I mean, after watching the game, I felt that Jalen Hurts played better than he did the previous week. I saw some improvement with him. I mean, yeah, he had, I think it was like 387 passing yards, which, I mean, yeah, they were a little bit inflated because they were playing from behind, so they had to abandon the run, which seems to be the new norm around here for Philadelphia Eagles coaches. They all forget about the running game. Even though Sirianni did implement it a little bit more than he's had. To me, I thought that the biggest problems were the penalties and, again, some more questionable play calling on Sirianni's part. Other than that, though, I mean, Devontae Smith looked good. He looked exactly like you expect him to be after being the first round pick. Jalen Hurts looked better, but again, like his yardage was inflated because they were playing from behind. But I thought he was okay, but that defense, man, and penalties, that was just, yeah. I don't know. Like,
all right. Well, we are bringing on a special guest.
Nice.
Barry the Villain. He's a Giants fan, as we can see by his hat. So I'm going to bring him on now, and he can tell us a little bit about himself. And there's Barry the Villain Jordan.
I figured I'd live up to the moniker by having my Giants garb on today. So.
Hey, listen. Next to you is a Patriots fan, so we're all family here.
Nobody's perfect. I mean,
Well played. Well,
it's nice to finally meet you, Barry.
I know. Nice to meet you guys in the flesh, man. How you guys doing this evening?
Pretty good. Little dig there at Pat, but he's still got 6 Super Bowl rings. So, Barry, we were just, talking about Jalen Hurts' game, but tell us a little bit about yourself so that, people can get, an idea who we're dealing with.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as you can see, I'm a Giants fan, Yankees fan, Knicks fan. So I'm all New
Well, listen,
York.
at least you like all the teams that you like grew up in the area. You, like,
I'm
it's-
supposed to, right? I'm supposed to.
You're not supposed to. I just feel like Pat has a story why he's a Patriots fan, and I respect it. On the DL, I'm a Patriots fan because I was a big Drew Bledsoe guy.
Okay.
But the people who live in the tri-state area and like the Dallas Cowboys drive me bananas.
Okay, so that's my older brother. That's my cousin, my wife's family. And they have a good reason. So in the '70s, the Giants weren't very good.
No.
Listen.
No.
So here's the deal. So a lot of the games in prime time, at least back then, you had two channels, and the Cowboys games would come on. So that's their excuse. I mean, listen, I don't buy it. I'm old enough to remember Lawrence Taylor in his heyday. That he was a god to me. So that's why I'm a Giants fan. Bill Parcells, Carl Banks, all those guys. So I grew up a Giants fan. But I have to admit, my wife, she was abused as a child. She grew up a Cowboys fan, didn't know any better. Before we got together, I said, listen, if you want to stay in this house, you need to convert. Go to the Church of Giants and convert. And she converted. She has moments where she slips, she forgets. But I pray for her. Everything is okay, and she's a Giants fan. So, and it helped me win the Super Bowl that year. So it was an easy transition for her.
And what year was that?
2011. So that was the year we got together. Victor Cruz, he was cute, so it made the transition easy for her. You know what I mean?
Oh my god, I love it. So, who do you write for? Like, what is the website?
Yeah, so, representing Sports City Chefs, sportscitychefs.com, cooking up dishes for all you sports fans out there. We do a blog, we do interviews, we do our shows on all streaming apps about 4 or 5 times a week. Sunday, we have the brunch. We have the Callers Cookout. We have Baseball Buffet that's in the playoff mode right now. We have the NFL Free For All. We'll be bringing back a college show as well. And then we have smaller shows on YouTube that we do that we basically have like what we call like appetizers. So we have finger foods, lunch break, and then the poo-poo platter that we do on a YouTube channel. So we got it. We're cooking all week. We blog and we do a lot of fun stuff. We got merch and everything, so it's great.
All right, so with that, I'm going to lead right into because we said we're going to recap the NFC East games and last night's game with Tom Brady and the Patriots. So Eric had said he didn't really catch any games, and he only watched the Eagles game because I don't even it was the only game on. I don't like for our area. I don't remember another game going on. So I had texted Eric earlier because, I had seen something in another Facebook group about someone that more or less posted that Daniel Jones is the man now, and he's grooming himself into an NFL caliber quarterback. I strongly disagree. I could be 100% wrong. I don't think Daniel Jones is a good quarterback. This is just my opinion. I could be wrong, but I want your opinion because you seem like you're down to earth, like you're real. Like we have a friend in one group, Angela Booker, who's in the NFL First Down group, who's a Giants fan, but she's a realist. She knows her team isn't good. She knows the coaching staff is a little suspect. She knows Andrew Thomas is not the draft pick that should have been, and that was another thing that Andrew Thomas is coming around and he's looking like a great pick, and I'm just like. A week ago, it was like, oh my God, these all got to go.
Right.
Now it's Daniel Jones is the goat. I'm gonna turn it over to you. So
I'm not gonna go that far, Chris. I'll start with Andrew Thomas because one of the guys on Twitter, Alex Wilson, who writes for the Giants, is a great guy. He has his own shows and stuff, and I basically agree with him that it's time for us to start giving Andrew Thomas his flowers because he's played 200 snaps, hasn't missed a snap, and hasn't given up a sack this year. And, basically held down some good defensive linemen in Chase Young and now Cam Jordan this week, right? So he's doing something right? So he's playing pretty well. I think having a training camp helped him. I think he didn't have much of a training camp last year, so it kind of stunted his growth. And he was supposed to be a right tackle, and he kind of moved last minute to left tackle. So I think that kind of hurt him. So from that standpoint, listen, I'll give Andrew Thomas a pass. I think he's playing pretty well this year. As far as the Giants as a whole, they're a couple of mistakes away. Well, I wouldn't say a couple of mistakes, but they're mistakes away from being a 3-1 team. Let's be honest about it, right? They lost in the last second to the Falcons and the Washington football team, right? Games they could have won, but I think they killed themselves with penalties. They killed themselves with turnovers or drop passes or something or false starts, whatever you want to call it. But it's a lot of mental penalties, right? I think that's a reflection on Joe Judge. He had them in a good spot. Getting better last year, and I think this year so far he's as a coach has regressed. I don't think that team is playing as disciplined as they were last year, right? But as far as Daniel Jones, I think we have a quarterback. I'm not going to sit here and say we got the next coming of Eli Manning or Phil Simms. I think he's answered the bell. I think he's only had 2 turnovers so far this year. That turnover yesterday was a garbage interception on a Hail Mary at the end of the half, right? So other than that, he hasn't thrown a lot of picks, right? So I think for the most part, I think he's solid. I thought he had probably his best game or one of his best games as a pro yesterday, over 400 yards, 2 touchdowns, should have been 3. Commanding the pocket, reading coverages, not staring down people. I think he played probably a really good game. I'm not sitting here going to say that, he's one of the elite quarterbacks in the league. Like Eli said, he was elite. You can't spell believe without Eli, all that good stuff. But I think Daniel Jones is a good quarterback. I think he warrants, say, all right, you know what? I don't have to move on from him and try to draft somebody in the next draft. I think we got our guy. Now we need to build around him.
So, all right. So, yeah, I mean, you could go with that with any team about being 3-1 and 1-3 because the Eagles realistically could be 3-1. They just got blown out by Dallas, and if our receivers knew how to stay in bounds, or if an official knew how to throw a flag on a play out of bounds, and that's coming with us playing the Chiefs, right? So, like for me, when I look at the rest of the division, I know we got manhandled by Dallas. I know Sirianni's play calling has come into to question with his running plays, but you can't tell me that the rest of the NFC East isn't looking at the Eagles' offense and going, you know what, they might be real. Like I know Kansas City's defense stinks, but the adjustments were made from week 3 to week 4 with how. I just think they're running too many RPOs with Jalen Hurts. That's just my opinion. Again, I always say it's my opinion. I could be 100% wrong. So, you can't tell me that the NFC East, like Washington, who I'm not impressed with Washington. No, right. I've said that their defense will lead them to the division title again, but they can't. They're on the field all the time because their offense is terrible. The Giants, I think Daniel Jones is their deficiency. I think he's going to end up costing them. I know he's only got the 2 turnovers, but I feel like we're waiting for him to be Daniel Jones and to turn it over in a key moment. I mean, when you think about it, they played a really bad half yesterday. The second half, or the third quarter wasn't that great for the Giants. They did enough, but they ended up winning the game. And then Dallas, of course, everyone's out now because Dallas won. Dallas is 3-1. They're a play away from being 4-0, and again, they're a play away from being 1-3. Like it goes back to your thing about how new the Giants are a play away from being 3-1, and I just, for everyone who sits there and says that the NFC East is weak, as we all thought it was going to be, I think it's the complete opposite. I think there's going to be a battle, and I think it's going to come down to that Week 16 and Week 17 game. Now, I doubt the Eagles are going to be it because the Eagles could realistically be 1-9. Like their schedule they play, I don't know who they pissed off, but who they play the next 6 weeks, with the exception of the Lions, it doesn't make any sense to me. It's not a first place schedule, like at all. Like I get it. Like they play Carolina next week, and I get it. Carolina was bad last year, and they got to play the South. And they're like, oh yeah, here we're gonna throw Tom Brady on a short week. There you go. Like what? Like
Right.
so I'm gonna turn it over to Pat. I'm gonna give Pat his opinion. So of the NFC East, even though he's a Patriots fan.
I mean, by far the most talented team, I think, in the division is the Cowboys. That's just me looking from the outside in. I mean, they can do it on both sides of the ball. Linebackers when they got Van Der Esch, Parsons, and Jalen Smith in there. I mean, they're good. That's a good unit. And Diggs has been just phenomenal this year. So that secondary is much improved. They can still apply pressure. They got a good rotation up front, but the linebacking core there is really good. Parsons could go sideline to sideline. The guy's a fantastic rookie. But then you look at the offense. I mean, with Pollard and with Zeke Elliott, I mean, you're turning around sometimes. I think against the Eagles, they were getting about 80 yards a clip. But Eagles defense hasn't been able to stop anybody. But still, that's a better option than CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper. Throwing the ball to those guys. That's saying a whole lot. They got a lot of talent on that offense. And like I said, the defense is flying around to the ball and they're making plays now. It's their division to win. I mean, the Eagles, their defense isn't good enough to do it. Washington's offense isn't good enough to do it. And I don't think the Giants are good enough on either side of the ball to beat them. So Cowboys are going to win like 13 games this year, 12 games this year, and they're going to run with the division.
That's cool. Who do you think's going to run with the division?
Cowboys.
Yeah.
They're going to win at least 12 games this year. I mean, I said that when we talked about this about a month ago, who I thought the best team was, and I just with Dak healthy, that's the best team in the NFC. NFC East.
I agree with you, Pat. I really do. I mean, at the beginning of the season, I just went with Washington because you give them the benefit of the doubt because they're defending division champs and that defense, but after what we're seeing with the healthy Dak, I mean, he's the real deal at quarterback. And I think that they finally they're finally gelling all together. And to be quite honest with you, I think the piece on that team that really has put them over the top has been CeeDee Lamb. He's just an
X factor.
Yeah, he really is. I mean, he really is. I mean, he's what they expected Michael Gallup to try and be, and he just never lived up to that type of performance. And yeah, CeeDee Lamb he's just nuts. I mean, I thought getting Amari Cooper that was big part of it for them. And that was a name that was a stud receiver. But when they got CeeDee Lamb, that was a total game changer. That really was.
Their tight ends are even having good years so far. Both of them.
Yep.
So it's just like you're clicking on all cylinders. And Kellen Moore's a good offensive coordinator. He's a smart guy.
I sometimes question his play calling. I think he gets a little pass happy. I think he kind of shies away from Ezekiel Elliott a little bit too much. But I think he is a solid play caller. I think he is one of the better ones in the league. I think the big factor for the Dallas Cowboys this year is the health of their offensive line. I think that was a real problem from last year. And now that line is healthy, keeping Dak upright. I think they're opening holes. I think the two-headed monster in the backfield with Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott is only going to help them down the line, especially in playoff time. I really like the change of pace that Pollard brings. That offense is as good as any offense in the league, to be honest with you. I think it goes toe-to-toe with anybody. I think the defense is always the problem for them. I think Micah Parsons is so versatile that he brings a different dimension that they haven't had. I think the cornerbacks were much maligned last year, but they were young. I think they're starting to get a little bit better. A year experience starting to help them. Like, again, training camp really does make a difference for those guys, right? I think anything on defense that was better than last year is an improvement. Will get them in the playoffs. I think that they're easily the favorite in that division. It's funny to watch like Michael Irvin come out there and say they're great. Dak's the best quarterback because he's a homer. He's a Cowboy, right? But I think if they keep clicking, that's a team in the playoffs that you don't want to face. I think Dak is as good as anybody. I think he's playing some phenomenal football right now, and I think in spite of McCarthy's questionable calling, like in situations and fourth down inside the 50 and time management, I think despite him, I think they'll definitely win the division, but I think because of him, they won't get far in the playoffs because I just can't he just doesn't manage the game in a great way.
I mean, they're playing defense and they're running the ball. It's two things that travel well.
Yeah.
And it's two things that translate over well in January. So they'll be right in that mix.
Yeah, but like you just said, it comes down to coaching, and for me, like you're right. Like Dallas, they'll be there in January. However, I think the McVays, I think the Cliff Kingsburys, the Bruce Arians, like they're just going to overmatch him. I mean, like again, I'll never understand the love for Mike McCarthy. He had Aaron Rodgers, who is hands down the best quarterback other than Brady for the last 20 years that we've seen. And he's been in the league since 04. I think he started in 08, I think it was. And he's been the 08, 09. And he's literally the best quarterback. And he's got one Super Bowl win. And it's all about his play calling. And for some reason, he changes his play calling up in the playoffs. And it's going to turn around and bite them. I hope it bites them because I can't deal with Dallas fans again. But even more, I think it's gonna, it's gonna turn around and bite them in the ass. And I think, if they play a team like just say Dallas gets to the Super Bowl, and they play a team that is on behind me right now, I think they're gonna get blown out. I think Justin Herbert is head and shoulders the top two quarterbacks in the league. I think my MVP vote this year is Herbert, and then Josh Allen's number 2. And then obviously it will be Mahomes. And then, depending how Dak, if he stays healthy, that's where it comes into. Now you got to realize something. Dallas is eventually, like how we always joke around that the Mets are going to net. Dallas is eventually going to Dallas. They're going to.
That's what I wait for. Thanksgiving is the best holiday.
They're going to Dallas. Like it's inevitable.
Right.
Taxes, death, and the Cowboys choking in November, December. We know it's going to happen.
Right.
As great as Micah Parsons is, he's got past issues. He shouldn't be in the league. That as great as Randy Gregory is, he shouldn't be in the league. Another guy got suspended. Like, does Dallas think, listen, you have to get suspended for 5 games when we draft you. You have to do something stupid. Like, do they have these conversations in the offseason? Because it ain't an NFL season without a Dallas Cowboy getting suspended for something, for smoking weed, or I don't even know what else they can do at this point.
Or trying to pass off a specimen to not get tested or something like that.
I think that's great. Listen, how are you going to bribe someone?
I don't know.
And then the league was like, no. And then Jerry should have just wrote the check and it never would have happened.
Exactly.
But no, like you said, Dallas is clearly, the best, the team in the NFC East. Conference, I'm not giving them that. But they're clearly, with that running game, is setting up the play action pass. But, great coach teams will adapt to that.
You know what, though? Here's my take on this. And they have a really good defensive coordinator, Dallas. They have good coordinators. They have a good offensive coordinator, good defensive coordinator. A lot of teams that are successful now in the NFL like to run the Mike Shanahan, zone read, running, one-gap run. And there hasn't been a whole lot of answers for this defensively. You need to have the right personnel for it. The Rams a couple of years ago when Staley was there had that. They were able to out-gap teams and play with a 2-high safety still. Dallas has the personnel that they can out-gap somebody still and still be able to keep 2 guys back there to cover on the play action plays. So
do the Rams.
So do the Rams, but the Rams like to run that offense. That's the thing. So Dallas actually has, the flip side of that. They can actually stop They can actually stop LA dead in their tracks with that. Whereas I think Dallas's offense is a little more versatile. I don't think the Rams can necessarily just kind of stopgap them. We saw the Patriots do it 2 years ago or 3 years ago against the Rams in the Super Bowl.
Right,
and that's why Todd Gurley couldn't get off the snide.
Right, but there's a difference.
Do that.
Yeah, but there's a difference between Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford. I know the Rams had a bad game yesterday, but I still have them in the conference championship against Tampa Bay. They're ridiculous.
Yeah,
Like that-
I had the Rams, Chris, in the letdown game. I really thought that Kyler Murray, who you didn't mention, is climbing up as an MVP candidate.
You can ask Eric. He was my dark horse last year, and he disappointed me. So
Yeah.
that little 5'7" person can see me in week 9.
He's answering the bell so far. I think the Rams would have a letdown game. They did. But to be honest with you, I think, Pat, you're right. I think that Dallas, on both sides of the ball in the division, are the most complete team, right? From coordinator to personnel to scheme. But when it comes down to a close game, ask Matt LaFleur, can you trust Mike McCarthy to make the right call? Because I'm watching this guy inside of 2 minutes not calling timeouts when he should call timeouts.
Eagles should have lost by 30.
Yeah, I'm watching him, let the clock wind down so he can kick a 60-yard field goal and miss it wide left. I mean, it's stuff like that that's going to cripple this team eventually. And it's like, do I think he's a bad coach? No. But to Chris's point, how can you only win one Super Bowl with eyeball test one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen play the game? It's mind-boggling to me, and it's so Dallas for him to have that job. It's so Dallas.
And let's as great as Dallas's defense has been, and with the exception of the Eagles just getting a BS touchdown at the end of the game, they're still giving up 24 points a game. That's not going to happen if they're a number 2 or number 3 seed, because you got to remember there's only one number 1 seed, and right now Arizona has it. So if they have to go into Green Bay, or if they have to go into someone who's better defensively coached, they're still giving up 24 points a game. We know it's not going to be Dallas, Washington, or the Giants. We know that's not happening, unfortunately. Although that would be great.
Who plays in a tougher division, Dallas or Arizona?
I mean, the NFC West is the best division we've seen.
So they're going to get beat up over the course of the year, and they're going to get a bunch of losses just from that division alone.
I mean, you'll be surprised. I think it's going to shake out a little bit differently out west, but I think the Rams will take it. But if I was Dallas and I had, say, San Francisco or Arizona coming into town, I don't know about that. You know what I mean?
I'll give you the Rams. I'm not giving you San Fran.
San Fran, but
what about Seattle? You think you're beating Russell Wilson twice? Once up there, it's hard to play up there.
It's hard. Yeah, I mean, coming into Dallas, even though it's Jerry's world, I don't know if I want to welcome those teams into Dallas. I don't know.
And you know what? As we're sitting there and we're talking about the West, let's. I know that they put a beating on Carolina, but the Panthers and the Panthers and the Saints defense, the Panthers have given up 66 points and the Saints have given up 69. So so while we're sitting here and we're not that we're anointing, but we think that Dallas is going to be up there. Mm-hmm. There's still other teams that they still have to play. That while you're giving them 12 wins, they could very well be 11-7 or 11-6 and 10-7. So the defenses are there. Not in the NFC East right now, but the defense is there. And again, it goes back. Yes, Dallas has scored 126 points. Yes, they are just rolling through teams. They're averaging 31 points a game. But when you're averaging 31 points a game and your defense is giving up 24, it's going to bite you. As good as Dan Quinn as a defensive coordinator, somewhere along the line, it's going to catch up to any team. Not just Dallas, just any team in general. We saw it with the Rams after 4 weeks. They were just rolling on teams, and then like you said, Barry, they had a letdown game. It happened. For all we know, Dallas could have 2 letdown games, and I think Derek Carr just got sacked and fumbled the ball.
But I'm looking at Dallas giving up 28 points to a Christian McCaffrey-less offense, right?
And you know what? And they weren't garbage points because the last touchdown came with 4 minutes left. It was a one-score game. It wasn't like they scored with 9 seconds left.
DJ Moore ran all over them. I mean, he was wide open all over the place. Sam Darnold, I don't think he sees ghosts anymore. I think he sees end zones. You know what I mean? So,
it took me a second.
Yeah, exactly. He saw ghosts. I always get reminded by that. By my dad's a Jet fan. I pray for him every night. It's I don't know. He followed the tuna to New York and never left it. I don't know why, but whatever.
Wow, that's you should have left that tune in a can.
I mean, honestly, it's sad. But I always thought Sam Darnold was a better quarterback than he was being kind of portrayed in New York. But
I wanted the Eagles to get him.
It would have been a nice pickup. But I'm looking at the Panthers. To your point, they're statistically have one of the best defenses in the league, and I've been singing their praises on our shows for the last couple of weeks just because I love the speed that they have. I love the athleticism that they have, and they get after people. But listen, they haven't played a lot of great competition, and they did get a 30-burger kind of hung up on them against a really good offense. So it's kind of like, okay, what are we what are we looking at with that defense? But to your point, Dallas is just going to Dallas at some point, and you're just waiting for them to, it's a shame that there's 17 games this year because I could say 8-8, that's it. Now it's like, okay, 8-9 or 9-8. What do we got? Which one is it?
No, you're right. It's and listen, I like that I like that we're that we're able to have this conversation. It's never good when Dallas is the best team, but again, we're realists. Like I'm not going to sit there and say, no, my team's going to, they're 11-3. They're going to win 10 in a row. Again, I just said they have a really good chance of being 1-9. So, we'll see. So let's switch over to the Washington football team. So obviously they won yesterday, so they're 2-2 and, they're sitting there and they're bragging that they're 2-2. They let the Atlanta Falcons put 30 points off them. I don't know. They scored 6, 25, 17, and then they put up 30 points in a loss to the Washington football team. Like I don't understand it. Like why are Washington football teams in love with Heineke?
I think he's gutsy. I think he has a little cockiness to him that they haven't seen from a quarterback in Washington in a while. Listen, I think everybody's really kind of hung up on that playoff game that he had against the Buccaneers last year, and it was a heck of a game to come in there and do what he did.
Yeah, but from a Philadelphia fan, we can't get hung up on one game because
absolutely
we got hung up on a 13-game season. We're paying $36 million to a quarterback with 2 sprained ankles, who's not even playing for us.
Exactly. How's that working out? But I mean,
we're gonna have 3 first-round picks.
Heineke can play in this league, and I think can he play at an elite level consistently? I don't think so. But Washington has some athletes on offense. I love Terry McLaurin. I think he's a phenomenal receiver. I think McKissick is solid. It's just like they have some pieces, but not all the pieces. Their defense is really a big letdown this year. I mean, anybody that drafted them for fantasy, I know it's just like, what do I do? Because they are totally underachieving, and I think it's that defensive line that's kind of letting them down.
Well, yeah, because they're trying to use that power and that quickness that they did in college, and it's catching up to them in the NFL. It doesn't work that way. You got to have schemes. You got to have inside plans, outside plans. Like you're not going to run around, the Lane Johnsons, the Martins of the world, I can't even think of the other guy in Dallas who wears the knee brace on his arm because he's so damn big. But you just can't run around him. It doesn't work that way. Look at Joey Bosa, the guy. He learned real quick what you have to do to win in this league, and you can't. You'll run around people. You can try. I wish Derek Barnett would take that thing because he's always trying to run around, and when he's not doing that, he's committing an unsportsmanlike penalty.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just not impressed with the football team. I think last year they kind of I felt like they were a quarterback away. They brought in Fitzmagic or Fitztragic as a stopgap. I just don't think that he's the answer at quarterback. Honestly, there was a lot of quarterbacks. I think there's a lot of quarterbacks. People that switch quarterbacks in the offseason, they should have been one of them. I think they should have been going after anybody they can get their hands on. That defense is a fraud. I think that the problem is the secondary. I think the secondary just doesn't cover up very well, and they don't have they can't exploit matchups offensively. So I think they're going to run out of gas by the end of the year.
Yeah, I'm with you. You're very right. They very well could run out of gas. Yeah, we talk about it all the time at the Washington football team, which is just comical to me that we're calling them the Washington football team. But they're just giving up points after points after points, week after week, and I'm like, their strength was their defense, and it's just not working that way. And now you have Washington, who's going to face the Giants, who has a mobile quarterback. Yeah, you'd have Dak, who's a mobile quarterback. Jalen Hurts is a mobile quarterback. This is they're going to be winded real quick, and they could very well, they may end up, with us 2-5, 2-6. Unless something happens by miracle that the next 3 weeks, Dallas loses a couple of games, and the Eagles and the Giants and the Redskins all win 1 or 2 games. Again, this could be a very close division. So, for my sake, I can't deal with a 3-14 team, as USA Today picked them. So,
if they are, they are. It's I was saying all along, especially for the Eagles side of everything. I mean, everyone knows that Jalen Hurts was not drafted to start this season. Everyone knows that. There was no. I don't care what anybody says, and the dumb fans that anoint him this Hall of Fame football player already just because he's Jalen Hurts. To me, this season was a pure evaluation season. People are saying it's a rebuild now for the Eagles. I'm like, no, it's really not. Next year's the rebuild. You got possibly 3 first-round picks who have over $60 million that is going to open up on the cap after Carson Wentz's $30 million comes off. So, I mean, they're going to be players next year within the draft. They're going to have money to spend. I think next year's the actual rebuild. This is just let's get by and let's hope we don't have any major injuries and see how Jalen Hurts comes around, because if he's not performing up to snuff, then you got 3 first-round picks, and technically right now 2 of them, if the season ended today, would be top 10 picks. Well, then plus also the Eagles, because they're doing horrible. So they would have probably have 3 top 10 picks. That's insane. I mean, they can.
But Eric, I honestly don't know. To me, I don't think there's a sexy quarterback in this draft. That
you don't like Rattler.
I mean, really? We're talking about Trevor Lawrence. We're talking some really good quarterbacks that's come out of the draft, and I don't see him in that tier. You know what I mean? I see him a step below. I'm curious for you, Eric and Chris. You guys watch Hurts. I watch him a couple games here and there. Red Zone's a blessing, but I don't get to watch him day in and day out. Do you think he's your quarterback? Do you believe in him? Do you think he's that good? I want to hear from an Eagle fan.
Ooh.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I am not impressed with. He had a good game yesterday, and that's fine. And I have an ongoing joke that he reads a defense about as well as Floyd Mayweather reads a book, although he's a gazillionaire. But I just don't think he is the anointed. I don't think he is the one. I don't understand the love for him. People talked about how great the Eagles played last year after Carson Wentz got benched. They went 1-3. They didn't go 3-1. They went 1-3.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't care that they beat the Saints. You could beat the Saints all you want. It didn't do you any good. Beating the Saints, you know what it did? It opened up the floods to trade Carson Wentz because the franchise thought they had a quarterback. That's what it did. Mm-hmm. He left Alabama because he didn't want to hurt his draft stock status, which I respect, and he didn't want to fight for his job. He was like, I'm not Why am I going to sit there like what? Why is Tua starting over me? People think that he just transferred. No, there was reason behind it. He didn't want to fight for his job, and we know in the past, very up until like the last 5 years, Alabama quarterbacks generally aren't drafted in the first or second round. He was a projected 4th round pick. I'm going to share the video I have of me when they drafted Jalen Hurts. Because it made no sense. It still doesn't make no sense. If you would have took him in the 4th round, that would have been fine. Right. But like to Eric's point is, Eric has brought this up on previous shows, that people are like, oh, he's the next Dak Prescott. I hate Dak Prescott because he's the Cowboy. He is nowhere near Dak. He can't hold Dak's cleats.
Eagles fans were saying that he's the next Russell Wilson. I'm like, wait, where did you get this from?
Right. Yeah,
like,
Russell. I'm sorry, and that was another one, Russell Wilson. I don't know if anyone's ever seen Russell Wilson throw a ball. Jalen Hurts has got nothing on a Russell Wilson after he runs around for 38 seconds and then throws a tight spiral to either, at the time, it was Doug Baldwin or Tyler Lockett. No, absolutely not.
And Barry, let me just say that I wasn't mad with the drafting of Jalen Hurts. Mm-hmm. I was upset when they took him. Like Chris was saying, if they had taken him in the 3rd or 4th round, honestly, I would have been happy in the 4th round. I'd been like, awesome pick. Completely awesome pick. But 2nd round, that there was more glaring needs at that pick that they could have handled. So,
I always go back to that draft. You wanted to get Carson Wentz weapons. What did you do? You drafted a punt returner instead of Justin Jefferson, and then you drafted a backup quarterback. If the best player on the board for you is gone, in the 2nd round you do what everyone else does. You do what Andy Reid does. You draft an offensive lineman. Doesn't matter what position he plays. You draft an offensive lineman because he may get hurt. I don't know the whole. It still doesn't make sense, and I'm getting mad about it.
Didn't Andy Reid do that though with Danny Watkins?
Did he?
Was it? Yeah. He drafted a firefighter from Canada. No, that was the 1st round.
But he was an offensive lineman.
But that was the 1st round.
Right.
It's not like he drafted. It's not like he drafted.
Their guys were off the board, so he went with it, like you said, went with the offensive lineman. You got Danny Watkins.
And his claim to fame is saving his teammate's life, who was having like cardiac arrest. But Jalen Hurts Jalen Hurts hasn't proven anything to me.
No, I agree. I don't think he's proven much. I think 1-3 last year was one thing I called out. But I look at it like this. I was like, look at where you were before. You know what I mean? Like, he was such a breath of fresh air over Carson Wentz because you just he couldn't get right. Like, he was like, can't get right from the movie.
He was in his own head.
Yeah, he couldn't, there was nothing that guy could do. He was done in Philadelphia, right? So I think when he came in,
it doesn't help with his fan base.
Right. I mean, they want a winner, and deservingly so. I mean, I think the jury's out on Hurts. I think he does some good things. I think maybe it's a scheme thing because I do see some good things from him from what I've seen, but I also see I just don't see an offense that's really tailored to him because I don't even think they thought he was going to be the starter this year. To be honest with you, they didn't even name him the starter until late in preseason, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
I'll give you what Jalen Hurts is. He's a mobile Nick Foles. That's it.
Okay.
A guy who can come in, play some games, win you some big games if needed. And then all right, the starter's not hurt anymore. Go back on the bench. Listen, Nick Foles is a legend. As you can see, I got my football up here behind me. Dude will always be my favorite Eagle, my second favorite Eagle because Dawkins is my favorite. But Nick Foles will be my second favorite Eagle because of his Super Bowl win. People sit there and think this is what we dealt with last season. All right, bench Carson Wentz, bring Jalen Hurts in as a starter. Then the offseason came, trade Carson Wentz, acquire Nick Foles in a trade with the Bears, and have Nick Foles as a starter over Jalen Hurts. So we were trading a franchise quarterback in Carson Wentz. We're trading for Nick Foles who's going to be the starter over Jalen Hurts. So Jalen Hurts is good enough to start over Carson Wentz, but he's not good enough to start over Nick Foles. That's what we dealt with. Like how old are you, Barry?
I'm 40.
Okay, so you were around when Hostetler won.
Yeah. That's
were people calling for Jeff Hostetler? Like, again, thank God social media wasn't around in the 80s. But although, were people calling for Jeff Hostetler to start over Phil Simms?
You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised.
Well, he became a starter in Oakland.
He left
or LA.
He couldn't supplant Phil Simms. Like, I think Phil Simms was what 11-1 that year before he got hurt. I mean, people thought he was still good enough to play. I mean, I think it was the coaching that didn't think he was ready to play. And I think once Dan Reeves came in, he was like, "No, you're my starter, LT. You're my leader. You guys go out there and play." But I mean, to your point, I don't think. And I was young. I was like 9, 10 years old. I don't remember people really clamoring for Hostetler to stay in there. You know what I mean? I don't think that was the case.
Yeah, I mean that's what I always went back to with people when they started talking about the whole Wentz Foles thing. I was like, look, you had Jeff Hostetler. He came in, he did a great job, but what happened? They brought back Phil Simms.
Right.
But okay. So where do you want to go to next, Chris? You want to go to last night's game or?
Well, yeah. I mean, we could talk a little bit about last night's game, but and when you guys get a chance and you get off, go on Twitter or go somewhere and look at the Hunter Renfrow hit. He just knocked the guy 7 seasons back on a fake punt. Absolutely demolished whoever the receiver was. Demolished him. But all right, so obviously I'll lead into it and then we'll go with Pat because this is obviously Pat's team. Patriots and Tampa Bay last night. Big game, obviously you saw everything else. Tampa Bay won on a missed, 56-yard field goal by Nick Folk. And then, of course, the Tom Brady haters were out today. But he's the luckiest quarterback in the league. The Tom Brady hate that goes on 22 seasons. I still don't get it. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to Pat because it's his team, and he can talk about last night's game.
Well, the Tom Brady hate, it always cracks me up because it's a bunch of people that, probably love Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes, and I can't stand either of those two, especially Aaron Rodgers. I don't know how anybody can find that guy likable, but, they just find reasons to just hate the guy. Tom Brady obviously wasn't his best game. Steve Belichick had a good game plan for him. And I would kind of hope so. If I'm Bill Belichick, I've coached a guy for 20 years. You kind of know what makes him tick and how to get to him. So,
real quick, can we talk about Steve Belichick real quick?
Yeah.
Like the mullet, the tongue, what was that all about?
he's kind of an odd guy. He's not a people person like his father is, but I think he also has a little bit more personality. So that kind of translates over to
Bill's a people person.
I said I don't think he's a people person like his father. But
yeah, I think person. He's on to Cincinnati.
No, not at all. He's not a people person at all. And I think Steve's kind of like that too. I think it kind of makes him socially awkward, but I also think he's kind of a little bit strange too, whereas Bill's not. And I think you kind of get that kind of nuanced weirdness to him. And but rocking the mullet. I know he was a college lacrosse player, so lacrosse players are kind of strange anyway. But so he's an odd guy. I'm hoping that he's maybe half the genius his father is, because I think he's going to stay with the organization for a while. So hopefully things pan out with him. But again, good game plan last. I mean, they held the Bucs to 19 points, but the fan. I mean, you're turning the team over to Mac Jones, and you're saying, okay, you're the starting quarterback. If you're going to turn the team over to the guy, you have to open the playbook for the guy. It's too conservative for me. Last week I saw it was like a 3rd and 13 or a 3rd and 14, and they're doing a draw to Brandon Bolden. Brandon Bolden stinks. Like, I don't even he's on the team. I know he was a good friend of Brady's. That's why they came around for a while. But the guy had been 11-year career in the NFL, and he's done squat. Let alone that you're going to hand him off at 3rd, 14. He's going to get you the first down. So they're playing very conservative instead of just kind of taking the training wheels off and letting the kid play. If this kid's going to play, you need to let him play. You need to open up the playbook. You need to call things. You need to be a little more aggressive. And we need to go out. We can't be 1-3 in the division at this point in the season. We couldn't afford to fall behind. And we got a tough schedule coming up. So not a good game. It was a winnable game, which I didn't think it was going to be. And now we lose it when we should have won. Now we're falling, 2 games under 500 in a division that it's already going to be tough to win with the Bills and how well they've been playing. So overall, I'm pretty agitated with Josh McDaniels and his play calling. Pretty agitated with, again, just the overall conservative attitude of the team. I really get, if you're going to have this kid play, have him play. And treat him like he's a vet. And he apparently has a really good command of the offense, so just let him do it. Take the training wheels off and let him do it.
Yeah, I can honestly say, I was impressed with Mac Jones. I really was. I was impressed with the way he played. I for a minute there, I thought they were going to win. What did you think, Pat? I think he froze.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly thought I picked the Patriots. So on our Sunday show, we have the Sunday brunch with hosted by TP on our network, and I was the only panelist that picked the Patriots, and everybody thought I was crazy. I was like, listen, first of all, you guys need to put respect on Bill Belichick's name, right? This guy's got 8 Super Bowls. And I think everybody wanted to kind of say, he only won because of Brady. He only won games with Tom Brady. I mean, I know a lot of coaches that only won with certain quarterbacks. You know what I mean? We could go down the list. How many Super Bowls did Bill Walsh win without Joe Montana? You know what I'm saying? How many Super Bowls did Landry win without Roger Staubach? How many did Chuck Noll win without Terry Bradshaw? We can go all the way down the list, right? You need a good quarterback to win the Super Bowl in this league. But I mean, Bill Belichick is the guy that stopped the K-gun offense in Super Bowl 25, right? He held down the greatest show on turf. I mean, if you don't think he could have held down Tom Brady for one game, then I don't know what you've seen in your career. I mean, I always will say Vince Lombardi is the greatest football coach ever. But right there is Bill Belichick. And that's for a reason, because this guy is a master. And he frustrated – Tom Brady's been in this league 20-plus years. He's seen every defense you could possibly see. And he had Tom Brady frustrated for a game because he's that good of a coach.
Do you know what Bill Belichick does to win games? Games like that? He makes you he'll focus on one player. And he'll make, that player will get 200 yards, receiving, rushing, whatever, but nothing else. Yeah. Nobody else will be able to do anything. And that was as great as Belichick's been doing that for years. He's been doing that before the Brady. This dude just keeps popping in and out.
he did it against my Giants, but we were able to win the game because he said Victor Cruz and Hakeem Nicks are not going to beat me in this game. Mario Manningham and whoever else is going to have to beat me. And Mario Manningham made the great catch. So that's what Belichick does. He figures out, how can I beat this team? All right, Tom Brady, I'm going to put a lot of nickel and dime packages against you. I'm going to rush with 3, then I'm going to rush with 4. I'm going to have cover 2, then I'm going to have cover 3. He switched it up. He really confused Tom Brady. When you thought he was seeing one thing, he would show him another, and that's what he does. And I really thought the Patriots were going to win that game because of Bill Belichick.
I thought the Patriots were going to win up until it started raining, harder. When it started pouring, I was like, God's like, nah, bro, I'm a Brady fan.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I wasn't rooting. I was rooting for, just a good game. But I really thought the Patriots would win that game. And out of everything Bill Belichick did, the one thing he did that I didn't agree with 58 seconds left in the game, to Pat's point, took the ball out of Mac Jones' hands and tried to kick a long field goal. I mean, let the kid go for it on 4th and 3. Let him go for it. I mean, you know what I mean? You're at that point, you're playing with house money. You know what I'm saying? Go for it. You had that defense on their heels. That defense has been terrible all year. That secondary was depleted already. Davis went down with the injury. You've got Sherman coming in. off the scrap heap, you can't go for it on fourth down and give your team a chance to go down there, milk the clock, kick a field goal closer, and win the game. Because what are you telling me? Tom Brady can't drive with 58 seconds and get a field goal at that point? Like, that's out of everything he did, that was the only thing that he did wrong.
Right. That was very, and I think Brady. I think they had one timeout left. Like you're gonna kick this field goal, Folk's gonna make it, and then you're gonna give Tom Brady 55 seconds in a stadium that he may know if there's any deficiencies on the field. Like, you know how there's always something on the field. Like, you're gonna give him this much time? Like, no, you go for it on 4th and 3. Let Mac Jones lose this game. That's how quarterbacks get better. You know, that's how
let him beat Tom Brady. Let him beat Tom Brady.
Right.
You know, like, give me a chance to beat Tom Brady.
Yeah, it was a questionable play call. We were just, Pat, if you can hear us, we were just talking about Belichick kicking that field goal instead of going for it on 4th and 3, and we lost him again. So he must have, his internet must be out. He forgot to pay the bill, like Facebook forgot to pay their bill.
Yeah, it's too funny. Facebook. Yeah, if you're a marketer like I am, it was a tough day for you. But yeah, I mean, I think the emotions got to Tom Brady a little bit. I think it was a lot to absorb coming back there. It was very emotional for him. I don't think that would happen again. But I think you had to have assumed that would happen under those circumstances. But not having Gronk in the red zone kind of hurt them. But at the end of the day, Belichick is a master strategist, and he knows how to take away what you do well and force you to do what you don't want to do. He's going to, you know what I mean? So, and that's what he did. And he had a kind of bend, don't break philosophy. They settled for field goals early and, really kind of confused that whole Bucs offense into the point where they couldn't really get into a groove for the whole game.
Yeah, it didn't help that Brady's like you said, with the red zone, because he had Cameron Brate, and Brate just dropped it, and as he was just running down at the 5, and just wasn't like he got blasted or anything. He just dropped the ball.
Yeah, and I think Brown dropped a pass too that he should have had. I think 9 times out of 10 he'll catch that, and the one time he drops it. So, but it was, honestly, all in all, it was a really good game. It was really entertaining. I think the storyline, everything, but I really wish that people didn't kind of use that as a prop to like sell the book that they had coming out, how everything kind of deteriorated between Brady and Belichick. That's between them. I mean, we can speculate. We talked about it on my shows, but at the end of the day, those guys did something that no one will ever do again. And, it's just unfortunate that, a lot of it kind of got marred with like all the sideshow stuff. You know what I mean? That was kind of the talk of the week. And I know it had to have gotten to Tom Brady, like that, just the whole thing. You know what I mean?
All right. Well, before we end, are the Giants winning this weekend?
I hope so. It's in Dallas, right? Listen.
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go. Here's the thing. There you go. Before we sign out, like, why does everyone think it's like hard to play in Dallas? It's really not. Like, I feel like it's like an overrated thing. There's 80,000 people there. When 50,000 of them are, Dallas fans, and 30 of the other teams, it's really not a good advantage.
I mean, listen, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think the Giants did some good things. I think offensively they turned it on. I think Barkley is getting better week by week. I think, they're going to let up their share of points against the Cowboys, but I think the Giants can go in there, to your point, and they can take that game.
They got to run the ball.
Yeah.
They got to run the ball and keep Dak off the field.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. We talked a lot. Eric talked a little. So do you have anything to add? Eric, are the Eagles going to beat the Carolina Panthers on Sunday?
No.
Eagles by 10.
Not at all. Hey, I told you they would not beat Kansas City. I said there's no way Kansas City was going to lose 3 in a row. There was no way Andy Reid was not going to get that record for being the only coach to have 100 wins with 2 different franchises. Everything just lined up perfectly. So, yeah, you can do all that you want, but did they win? No, they didn't.
They didn't.
They're such a bleeping mouth.
Oh, absolutely not. You know me.
So
no, you're right. You know, and again, what comes down to it is, hey, listen, it came down to coaching. The Eagles were like, hey, we're going to do a one-on-one with Tyreek Hill. Okay. I don't know. Whoever thought that should just get fired. Like, to call him an Uber or throw him off the wall with him. And the defenses. Kansas City defense made 2 stops when the Eagles couldn't.
Yeah.
They killed themselves with 8 points with the 2 field goals. It's a completely different game.
Well, I don't know. The Eagles basically did blow a hole open up in their defense and just let them run rampant through all over the place. I mean, they had no run defense whatsoever. I mean, they had no answer for the run. They really didn't. So I don't know, but no, this week, no, I don't see the Eagles winning. And I hate to say it, I'd love to see them win, but again, like I think they're going to lose. But to me, it's an evaluation loss. That's how I'm looking at it. I'm going to be watching Sirianni. I'm going to be watching Jalen Hurts. I'm going to be watching if they finally start using Miles Sanders more than 3 times a game. So that's all. That's all it is. So, but no, I don't have any confidence in this week at all. Like Barry said earlier, like Sam Darnold he's just a new quarterback. He's in a much better system than where he came from, and he's just having so far a great season.
All right. Well, I'm going to end with our outro video. Barry, thanks for joining us. If you want to tell people, a little bit about your brand, go right ahead.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Sports City Chefs, we're always cooking all week, about 5 days a week. Check us out. We're on 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time tomorrow during my Yankees playoff game, so I don't know how attentive I'll be to that show. But the Callers Cookout. Yeah, I hope so. But we got shows all week. Get to the website, sportscitychefs.com. I'm glad to be on with you guys. I can't wait to do it again. If you have me, I'll love to join you guys. So thanks a lot, guys.
Absolutely. You have a good one, Barry.
You want Philly?
Yeah, let's do it.
It's easy to sum it up. We're talking about practice.
Because it's about as casual as it gets.
What's the problem now?
That's a clown question, bro.
I think we ought to send the beat at least.
World champions.
Start playing with some jam in here. Let's go.
Philadelphia, looking as only you can look. Woo!
Here we go.